Hi students. In this lesson we're going to cover importing your mobile template PSD file, animating that mobile home page, and then also animating a intro sequence. Okay, to get started, open After Effects. Then we're not even going to make a new comp or new project. What we're simply going to do is just go under File, Import, and we're going to import our mobile PSD file. So I have my phone, and I'm going to do composition retain layer, and I'm going to create a new comp with it and hit open. And then I'm just going to open my phone mockup, and this is pretty much our render comp. So I don't think you need to make a render comp or do any other comps for this mobile animation. It's set to go. And unlike our laptop and mobile for our hero image, this one's already set up the size because we just are working with this one template only. So what I'd like to animate is this center phone, and that is number 3. We're just going to double click on it, and we're going to do the same process as before, where that border, if we recall, is this kind of matte or mask, and we're going to target that with our mockup file. So now that's properly matted. And if I open the mockup, this is what we're going to be working with, just like we animated on the previous lesson. So we just need to import our PNG file. So remember that we exported a homepage PNG and then also a mobile homepage PNG. I'm going to import that and create a comp with it. Just hit open. I can close that comp, and I'm going to take that artboard, drop it into place, and then I'm just going to rotate it so it matches the rotation here. Might zoom in really close to make sure that the angle is proper. Pull this over here. Yep, that's pretty good. And then we just need to scale it down. And align it like we've done previously. So I'm going to just kind of put this centered, get the alignment right, and I got to scale it up just a tad so it fits the width. So you get something like this. And then what we're going to do is just simply change the position. So depending, again, I set this comp at 35 seconds. It was set up the same way as our previous lesson. If you want to change that, you can change it in the composition settings if it's too long of an animation. But I'm just going to stick with the 35 for now. I'm going to keyframe and then jump to the end. Again, Option Alt P keyframes, and J and K jumps back and forth. So I'm going to jump to the end keyframe and simply pull this animation all the way to the end. Again, the alignment will stay in point as long as I snap it. At the end here, all this kind of herky-jerky I'm doing won't really impact the animation as long as my position is set. If you want to double check it, you can jump over the phone and make sure that that alignment is where you want it. If it's a little bit low, you can just pull it up, test it here, get something like that. So now the animation, pretty straightforward. We'll animate the entire home, put an ease in and an ease out on these guys. Now if we render test it, you see it does something like So again, I can hit spacebar to test it, but it does take a while to render it. And then in our main mockup, you can see that it's working there as well. So that's our main animation. What I'd have everybody do is for these other screens, I don't recommend that you animate those, but to get those to show the design, you'll want to just track matte to the border. And so you see that comes up, and then on our number 4, we're just going to click it, track matte to the border, shows that design, and it updates it. We're going to track matte our number 2, and again, and now lastly, number 1. So now we have our design in place and our animation. Okay, so I'm going to do a little 2-second intro animation just using opacity. You could experiment with a little bit of scale, making each one of the mobile phones pop and then come back down to 100% in scale. You could also play around with position, but I'm just going to show everybody to use transparency first, and then it's kind of up to you to experiment with what you think works the best. So again, I'm going to jump about 2 seconds down the timeline here, select all of our layers. Because I'm working with transparency, I'm going to keyframe by doing Option T, which will keyframe everything at 100%. And then I'm going to do Option T again and set everything to 0. So what I'd like to accomplish as an animation is just a simple wipe from the bottom up. And I'll explain when we get to the end why I chose to animate that way. Versus through the center. So the first one I'm going to animate is the number 2 phone, and I'm just going to take that and shorten the length of the animation so you get something like that. So the one in the bottom starts to animate in, and then I'm going to choose number 4 and number 1, and I'm going to do where I stagger both of their animations, do something like this so they animate in together. And then I'm going to choose number 3 and stagger, which is our center phone, third animation. And lastly, the phone up in the top corner. So you get an animation something like this. And it does take a second to render. And you can time it out a little bit better, add eases on each one of these. So easy ease in. And you also can work with just the timing of it. But this is the basic idea of how they could animate in. Also, the background itself, which is here, you could import if you did a Illustrator background with a pattern and animate that like we did in a previous design. But for right now, I'm just going to leave the gray in there, and if you do that, just reference the previous tutorial. So the only thing left to do is this starts to animate just a little bit early. So in our phone 3, we're going to open that back up, go back in the mock-up, and we're just going to push that to about the 2-second marker. Now our animation is in place. Everything intro in, and then the phone will start to animate. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to save it and do the same process as before. I'm going to export to Adobe Media Encoder. You know how it works. Opens the Media Encoder, same settings as before, VBR, pass to, and just hit the play button. I'm not going to go through that because we did it on the previous demo. Thank you. This concludes our lesson on how to import your mobile template and animate your mobile homepage, along with throwing a little bit of an intro in there as well. Best of luck with your animation, and just have some fun.